Alright, lesson 2 is over pollution. I'm going to jump right in with our vocab. First vocab word is acidic or acid precipitation. Mostly acid rain is what we're going to talk about. So this is acid rain or snow that forms when waste gases from automobiles and power plants combine with moisture in the air. And then that moisture eventually falls back to Earth as the precipitation. Global warming is a scientific observation that Earth's average temperature is increasing. I'll talk about that a little more in the slideshow. The ozone layer prevents most harmful ultraviolet radiation from reaching Earth. Again, that will be talked about as we go through the slideshow as well. Photochemical smog is a type of air pollution that is formed when sunlight reacts with waste gases from burning fossil fuels. And pollution is contamination of the environment with substances that are harmful to life. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is pollution. Pollution is the introduction of contaminants, so this is anything that's outside of the norm, anything that wouldn't normally be in the ecosystem or in the environment, into a natural environment that cause adverse or bad change. Some things can be brought in that cause a good change. We talk about that a little bit with our populations and things like that, but pollution would be the cause of a bad change. So pollution can occur as a result of human actions such as burning fossil fuels, spilling toxic materials, oil tankers, factory waste, things like that, or they can occur as natural disasters, things like wildfires and volcanoes. They can cause a lot of pollution as well. One really good example of natural disaster pollution would be when Mount St. Helens erupted. It threw ash all over, and that amount of pollution led to some pretty drastic changes in the environment. Alright, so the first type of air pollution that we're going to talk about is, or first type of pollution we're going to talk about is air pollution. Most notably, the loss of ozone. So our ozone is made up of O3 molecules, which are 3 oxygen atoms that are bonded together. What we actually breathe and take in are O2, so that's 2 oxygen molecules. And so this is a little bit different. The ozone protects Earth from harmful UV radiation. UV rays are the rays that give you a suntan, also make you sunburnt, and if you aren't careful and you don't wear sunscreen over a long enough period of time, they can cause some sorts of skin cancer. So that's why it's a pretty big deal. The loss in ozone started in the 1980s and was the result of using CFCs, which are also called chlorofluorocarbons. They were used in things like fridges, air conditioning units, aerosol sprays. Since they've been banned, and it's expected that the ozone will recover, but it'll take a few decades to do so, so 30, 40 years in that timeline. Here we have an example of where the ozone layer fits in. We're going to talk about the layers of the atmosphere in a little while. Here's our oxygen 3 molecule. Like we said, if these blue dots represent oxygen, we just have 3 of them bonded together. Alright, so photochemical smog. Dark clouds of gases and particles. The smog itself is caused by the particles reacting with sunlight. These things can irritate the respiratory system, right? So your lungs and your bronchial tubes. It becomes worse during the day. It's going to be one of our questions on your notes. I want you guys to think about why it would become worse during the day, knowing what you know about this slide. One of the gases in photochemical smog is actually ozone gas, so O3. O3 is great in the upper atmosphere, so away from us, but it's not very good for us to breathe in. We'll actually click back one slide and see how the ozone layer is up to 10 kilometers away from Earth. That's quite a distance, so we don't really want to be breathing that O3. So here's an example of our photochemical smog. We see that this would be a city and we have the fog or smog over top of it. Here you can barely see the cars in the background. Alright, global warming. Overall, the Earth is getting warmer. This isn't an opinion, this is a fact. The Earth is getting warmer. There's a lot of debate about it. If you look into the research, you can see that the trend is definitely going up. The amount of CO2 that is in the atmosphere and the overall temperature of the Earth is going up. So global warming is happening. Climate is the weather pattern over a very long period of time. So one cold day or a cold week does not disprove global warming. In fact, hot days can be caused by global warming due to a shift in climates, and it just kind of sends everything out of whack. So we have really high highs and really low lows as a cause or as an effect of global warming. The increase in temperature can lead to changes in ecosystems, food chains, weather, number and severity of floods and droughts, coastal flooding. Right, one of the things they always talk about is the ice caps melting, and when that happens, the amount of water will go up, and that'll kind of take away some of the land space and cause coastal floodings. If that happens, that's going to affect the food chains, right? Who's eating or what's eating what, and the ecosystems as well. The average temperature and the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere is increasing year to year. We've talked about that a little bit. The CO2 reflects radiation or sun rays or light back to the Earth, not allowing it to escape, thus making the Earth warmer. So what this is saying is, normally we have sunlight come in to the Earth and then bounce off, just like it. That's the reason we can see the moon at night, is because it reflects some of those rays. In this case, we're reflecting it off of the Earth's surface, and it's being reflected back to the Earth by the CO2. Greenhouse gases are natural, so CO2, water vapor, those are examples of greenhouse gases. They're natural, but we've just increased the amount to a point where it's becoming unhealthy. Alright, so acid rain is rain or any other form of precipitation that is unusually acidic. This doesn't mean that it's going to fall from the sky and melt through your skin. That's not how acid rain works. It's less acidic than that. So burning coal produces sulfur dioxide. When the sulfur dioxide mixes with moisture, it creates sulfuric acid. So when that moisture condenses and then falls back to Earth, you have acidic rain. You have acidic moisture in the form of rain. Cars make nitrous oxide, which forms to make nitric acid. And same thing, that nitric acid mixes with moisture, falls as acidic rain. These acids and moisture make the acidic rain. Acid rain pollutes soils, it can kill plants, it can pollute water, it can damage cars and buildings. Here are examples. We have trees that you can see the top layer of them have almost been wiped completely out because of acid rain. Acidic rain is also really, really hard on marble and granite. So here you can see it's not even really the same statue, it's been warped so bad. Alright, we have water pollution as our next type of pollution. It's a contamination of water bodies. This could be lakes, oceans, aquifers, anything. For those of you that don't know, an aquifer is a groundwater source, so it's located underneath of the ground. Comes from agricultural runoff, residential runoff, industrial sources, mines, landfills, all sorts of different things. We have stuff called wastewater, right? When you flush a toilet, that's called wastewater. Houses and farms have harmful chemicals that are taken away by water. So I just talked about flushing a toilet. That could be from a house. Farms could be the runoff from irrigation that's full of chemicals from the fertilizer are taken away. That's taken away by the water. This water is taken to a water treatment plant where the toxins are removed. However, some places don't have this luxury. You got to think of like third world countries. They don't have the luxury to have the toxins removed like that. So some industries are required to filter out the waste before releasing, but it's not a perfect system. Not everybody is having to meet the exact same standards, or probably high enough standards for that matter. Runoff can pick up things like pesticides and fertilizers that end up in streams. Once they're in the streams, all organisms have to deal with it. So you might kill an entire population of fish that's not prepared to handle the amount of a certain chemical or a certain mineral that you're throwing at it. Here we just have some pictures of pollution. This is really, really overt pollution. And I apologize about the quick picture quality on this slideshow. It seems to have gotten pretty grainy, but you have just a lot of trash in the water here. Here we're assuming this is coming from an industrial source. Hopefully they are getting the toxins filtered out. And our last one is land pollution. This can come from, again, homes, farms, industries, mines, landfills. Sounds kind of the same as water pollution, right? As far as from the agricultural side of things, sometimes too much or improper spreading of chemicals occurs. Hopefully not very often, but sometimes it does. This harms the people and the animals in the area because those chemicals aren't natural, right? Or that amount of chemical in the area is not natural. Everything is made up of chemicals all the time. So chemicals are natural things, but when you have them in improper amounts, then that starts to become harmful. All right, so salt buildup from this can make the soil toxic. So if you over fertilize something, for those of you that farm, maybe you've had it where you accidentally put on too much fertilizer in a spot and you burn the crops there. It just doesn't grow. You've overdone a certain chemical in that area. Industry and mining, if not dealt with correctly, many toxic waste products can contaminate soil. Mining brings chemicals to the surface that are toxic. These things can ruin ecosystems. So part of bringing stuff to the surface, is that it's not on the surface, so it's not natural there, so that can become toxic to certain things. Here we have a picture of a landfill, and if you ever get the chance to see a landfill, I suggest you do it. They're very, very interesting. Here we have a picture of a mine. You can tell it's layered down like this. Normally you have some kind of water source available to wash out whatever you're trying to do, and that can also lead to water pollution. But that will do it for this slideshow.